So let's find water. So let's just type in water and see what comes up. And we're seeing just kind of plain water, but we're not really seeing splash. So I think what I need to type in now is the word splash. There we go. That's more like it. I think this is one of these is perfect. This is already on a black background, so that's helpful too. But we're going to use blending mode, so it doesn't really matter what color background it's on. So let's go ahead and download this one. Free download. Say thank you to Rias. Thank you. So let's drag this right in. I'm going to drag it right into the document, and it's going to automatically make it a smart object. Perfect. So now I'm going to make it big enough to look like it's exploding from the can, and press enter, and I'm going to move it to the back. So move it all the way down to the background. So now we need to make it look like it's exploding from the top of the can. So maybe right about there. Psh. And we can get rid of all of this easily by doing a layering mask. So let's do a layering mask on this background splash photo. Let's get our nice soft round brush so it gives it a nice feathered look. And let's go ahead and paint with black to erase. We don't need to have lines in there. And let's say you had a different colored background in there. So let's unlock this background layer. And let's say we had this a different color. Let's say it was red. Well, let's say I want to really blend that in, and it's got this black background, and you'd have to remove the black background. Well, that's a mess. So you can select this object and do a blending mode and have it blend right in. So maybe screen. You can have it screen back, and you don't have to sit there and remove the background. So that's kind of fun. So you can have like dark blue, whatever color you want. You don't have to do black. And we can even, this is interesting, we don't have to do this, but it's going to show you gradient maps, which we've done a lot. We can apply a gradient map to this layer right here. So I'm going to go up to image. I'm just going to apply it to that one layer. So just going to go through adjustments and do a gradient map. And let's keep black as the shadow color. And for the highlight color, we can do any color. We can even bring out this yellow color. So that's really interesting. Of course, now it's starting to look like beer or mellow yellow or something that's orange. But I just wanted to show you, if you wanted to create a different color, you can easily apply a gradient map to this as well. So I feel like we're really close to being done. Let's do some final touches to the typography. So something that's kind of popular, I want to show you. You don't always have to do what's popular. You don't always have to follow trends. But I wanted to kind of discuss kind of what's been going on with drop shadows and having a look a lot like what I'm showing you here. We have these drop shadows kind of giving this layered look to the typography. That's easy to add by doing layer styles. So each layer has a layer style. And I can't remember if I went over this, but I'm going to go over it again. So you have this layer right here. So Seltzer, this is our typography layer. I want to add a drop shadow to that. I'm going to double click right here in kind of the blank space of the layer system right here. You click right here on this layer. It's going to open up a layer style panel. And when we do the next project, which is going to be a book, we're going to go over layer styles in a lot more detail and how to save them and all this great stuff. So don't worry if this is just super duper brief, but we're going to go in more detail later. So I want to add a simple drop shadow. I'm just going to select drop shadow, and you can change the distance of the drop shadow, the spread, and the size. So I'm going to make it a full opacity, and I want to make sure Seltzer is the top layer of the typography. So let's bring this all the way to the top. And we have and what we could do, we can even create a folder, select all of our typography and put it in a folder. And that just helps me know that this is the typography. Kind of groups it for me. I don't have to sit there and hunt for it. So now I know that Seltzer's on the top, Taste is next, and Test is at the bottom. And so I'm going to do a drop shadow on Seltzer. And you can kind of see it casted a little bit here on the top of the Taste. So what it does, it kind of gives it a sense of placement and a sense of belonging with each other instead of just existing as separate elements. Since they're casting a shadow on each other, they feel more like they're together. So I can reduce the size a little bit. That's a very tiny effect here. But I just noticed on Instagram, everybody seems to be doing this effect. So this is before. That's before, it's kind of flat. And that's after. And it's not these super strong shadows either. They're not over, because you can easily date yourself by doing super strong drop shadows. Just kind of gives it this depth. And while I'm here, I want to show you another cool thing, just if you want to do it someday. So let's say I want to put an effect on just this typography and I want to crop it, like I put an image on it and it only shows in through the word Seltzer. What if I were to bring in this again, this little splash, bring it on top, and I can use clipping mask and I can clip it to just the typography so it crops it around just the typography layer. So I have this little image right here above my Seltzer, right here, and I'm going to take my splash water layer. I'm going to hold down Option like we did before, and this is going to create a clipping mask. So holding down Option, I believe it's Alt for Windows, I'll have to double check that, and then I'm going to click once and it's going to apply a clipping mask to that. And what's really neat is I can move this around and make it bigger, and it looks like the Seltzer is the water. That might not be the right effect for what we have now, but I just wanted to show you how you can do that. You can do that with gold and glitter and all sorts of crazy textures to have that effect. If you want to unclip it, you hold down Option, Alt, and then you have that little X out, and then just unclip it and then delete it. So for right now, I think a clean look works. I think there's one thing missing. I feel like we have lots happening, but let's create that sense of depth again. So we can put our cans on top again. So let's go ahead and bring, I think it got pulled down because I put all the type into a folder. So what I need to do is just bring that right above here. And we could put a little drop shadow on the cans. So it looks like you added a little drop shadow here to look like they belong together. So let me toggle that off and then toggle that on. Just to kind of see what we're doing. Okay, so we have a great background. I feel like the cans are in the foreground. I feel like we can add one more thing to the foreground to really add even more dramatic depth to this piece. Let's duplicate the splash layer. So I'm just going to right click duplicate. There's also a keyboard shortcut I'm ready to introduce. That's Command J. So to have this splash highlighted, going to do a quick Command J, and that is going to create a copy. Let's drag that all the way in the top. It's in the top. I want to create a splash in the foreground, so I'm going to bring this down, and this is when I'm going to use a blending mode. So let's do a blending mode that's going to allow just the splash and not the background to pop through. So that's most likely going to be our lighten and screen on dark backgrounds, like we studied in the double exposure lessons. So let's do lighten, and we don't want to have too much splashing going on. So we can use a layering mask to delete some of this extra splash and only keep what we want. So let's do that. Let's create a layering mask. It looks like a layering mask is already created from before. So we just click right there and we're able to paint away with black, and let's make it nice and big so it feathers it away nicely. We don't need too much splash, especially in the near the words. We don't want to make it too busy. We don't have to have it splash all the way over, just like a little splash to bring everything together. And let's bring that down so it's not too much. It might be making it smaller might be what solves the issue. See, there's where it looks like it's really splashing. And we can add a little more spacing right here. I feel like it's a little tight, a tiny bit tight. So let's select both of these. I'm just doing my down arrow key. Just going to tap down and then do this one and tap down, do test. Just to give just a tiny bit more breathing room, especially when we did the drop shadow effect. We want to give some breathing room there. And we can round these corners. Well, they're already rounded, but maybe we can make them straight corner. Kind of gives it a more contemporary look. And one thing we didn't do that I really want to do is I really want to edit this photo. This has not been edited. I think we can make this even better right here. This is our main subject matter. Now that we're finished with the layout, we can really do our refinement in photo editing. So I think we can sharpen this image to really bring out the details of the can. So I have this subject matter selected, and I'm going to just go up and do a quick sharpen. Just one sharpen. You can over sharpen really easily. So this is before, so that was nice, but this is after sharpen. It just kind of really brings out the bubbles on the can. It really makes it feel higher resolution. Let's also bring out the colors. So we have this gold, we have this kind of really dark gray color in the middle. Let's bring those colors out more. Let's just do a quick image adjustment. Let's go to vibrance, See if we can't bring out more of that color. So you notice that's before and that's after. It kind of adds more gold to that. We can even make it more saturated. And what I want to do, let me go to hue and saturation. So let's add just a tiny hint of copper. So we're going to adjust this hue slider. This is just the quickest way to do it. And I'm just going to bring it a little bit to the left. It's going to almost make it like a copper look. I think that'll pair better with it, the yellow. Click OK. Let's see, what else can we do here? We can go to image, brightness, contrast. If we want to bring the contrast on this higher on the cans, we can. That makes the difference between the highlights and shadows more big. So let's increase the contrast. So let's increase it all the way. So that's going to make it really pop. And then of course that's a reduction in contrast. So let's just add a little contrast. We could make them brighter, but I think it's already a pretty good brightness. We don't want to make it too bright because then it makes that washed out looking. So let's not worry about brightness. Of course, we can do a much more simple yellow background as well if we wanted to do something more simple. Very easy to do with everything you know. There's so many different variations of each one, and you have to figure out which one will work the best because you could do so many different combinations. But there you have it. There's our first YouTube thumbnail. It's got a real dramatic look. We have lots of layers happening here. We have a nice background, a nice foreground, a nice high contrast color, clean typography. I think this works really, really well to grab people's attention. So now we have another thumbnail we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit more of a feminine, soft look for a travel channel.